Welcome to the Think Different podcast, the only Apple podcast with two former Apple retail employees with 20 years of combined experience. We are here to discuss the news in the Apple universe and share our retail experiences. Today, we have two major subjects to talk about. We both attended one of the virtual Today at Apple sessions from the Apple Store creatives. Plus, it is the end of an era for one of those products. I am Will, TLD, a former Apple specialist, creative, and genius. Along with me every week is Mr. Beautiful, creative, keto drummer. I want to be called something else, Frank Funk. What's up?
How you doing, man? Hey, I lost another 2 pounds.
Hey, you know what? And I am now back on the keto diet. I was off it for the time being. I'm back on it now because it's important. And I gained 2 pounds. So, yeah, things are going perfectly fine.
I lost it. You found it.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's a sodium intake. But don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, because tonight, as always, we are not sponsored by this product. No. It's a little bit of Zevia. One of these days, they're going to call me up and want to be sponsored here. So, Frank, we had attended one of the Today at Apple sessions. These are virtual sessions that you're doing at home. We talked about it on our last episode, on episode 32. And now we're going to give our feedback, our experience on it. So if you're watching us on YouTube, right now I'm showing you a preview of the clip. There's no audio in there, but it shows you what the experience looked like. You could see that you had 3 people, at least in my session, there were 3 people there. There was a desktop showing what's going on, and they even have a Q&A and a chat built into it as well. But without diving into it, Frank, you went on the very first one, which
Yes.
I believe was about the iPhone.
That's correct.
So, talk about, like, overall, what was your takeaway from that experience?
I have some good things and some bad things.
Here we go. Already negative.
Well, what can I say? Because I compared it to what we used to do in the store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And these are well scripted, but they cover limited topics.
Mm-hmm.
And in my session, there were 4 of us, the creative, 2 Apple guest creatives, they called them, myself, and another participant.
So you knew there was only 2 people in there?
Yes.
Okay,
Now,
interesting. Okay.
You could have a chat, but there were some things that I'll get into that. But I'm going to start at the very beginning. When I signed up, I got a notification, and I put it on my calendar. And then, you get the notice and you say you have to download WebEx Connect, which I did. So I got into WebEx. It said, you got to create an account, blah, blah, blah. Did all that. Logged in, it says put in a password. Well, I couldn't find the meeting. And I didn't get any other communication from Apple other than that initial time. So I went back to the posting on my calendar. And in notes, there was a link. So I clicked on that link and it connected me and said, okay, put in your Apple ID. I did. Now, one note of caution, if you have autofill, I used autofill. Then what it did was it went right to the password and it filled in my password. However, the password for the sessions is pre-filled by the session. So when I clicked on enter, it gave me an error. And I was like, what the hell's going on? So then when I manually keyed in my Apple ID and hit enter, it got me into the session. So that was the first thing that I thought could be very confusing. I mean, I fumbled through it, figured it out. But if you're new to the iPhone or whatever, and it could be very confusing. So then the next thing, once I was in, they were going through a very routine script. They would explain certain aspects, searching, things that were, basic but necessary. And nowhere in there did it tell me that I could join a chat. So I had to kind of figure my way around. I said, okay, chat with all. Now, when the chat came up, it took over 3/4 of the screen. So it blocked out what the creative was talking about and demonstrating on the iPhone.
And were you doing this on the Mac, by the way? Just so that we
Yes,
make it clear. Okay.
I was. I was. So then um, the presenter stopped. He said, oh, we have a couple of questions. And I was chatting with all, and I didn't see any of the questions that were asked of the creative, and he answered. So my suspicion is that they were supplied or given by the two guest creatives. I call them guest creatives because I don't know. I mean, I guess they were just monitoring what the creative was doing and how it was going. And so, that being said, they, went over the topics. They showed the search field, the Siri, emergency SOS options, which were all under customized settings. And overall experience, I thought it was good, but what it lacked was what we used to do in the store when we had sessions. When the participants sat down at the table, we would ask them, what is it that they wanted to know? What level were they at? What did they know? What did they didn't know? So that we could kind of gauge and build the session on the fly. This eliminates that.
Mm-hmm.
It's by the script, and you can ask some questions at the end, and they'll, most of the questions were geared towards reiterating what was already said to further explain something that someone didn't understand. But I mean, it is what it is. It's something different. Just a matter of maybe I have to get used to it, get used to the format. And the other thing is, I don't know if you did, but I didn't see any of the participants.
Right.
I was going
to tell you, I'll go over my experience.
Yeah.
You attend the iPhone one, I attend the Mac one.
Yeah. And I expected to fully see all of the participants like you would like we're doing now in a Zoom call.
Right.
That didn't happen. The only person I could see was Jesse, who was the creative. And then there was Gary and Javier, Thomas, which was a guest, and myself. Mm-hmm. So overall, the topics were, like I said, scripted, covered the basics, but I think it lacked what we had and in the creative sessions in the store was that interaction between the participants.
Okay.
So that was my take on it.
So my take on it was a little bit different than yours. I would say I didn't have any difficulty getting into the meeting. I know that, I don't know if you went too far into the directions, but when I downloaded WebEx, I didn't have to sign up for anything. I just went right to the link. Once I downloaded the software, I didn't even open it at first, and it prompted me for the login, and I got in no problem. So I felt like the login process was very easy.
And where did you get the password for the login?
I think it was right an hour before. I think there's another follow-up email about it.
See, I didn't get a follow-up email.
I would double check your email.
I did. I was like, there's got to be something, but anyway, I survived. So
yeah. God forbid, we don't want anything to happen to you. So I would say they asked where everybody was from. So there were a lot of people. I think there were a lot of people in my session. I definitely don't think it was filled in with random people. I definitely think people joined it, and they asked where everybody was from. It was all over the place. It was even in overseas. It wasn't just U.S. And in my opinion, they have the chat. What's a little confusing is they have two sections. They have a chat and a Q&A. You're supposed to put everything in the Q&A, not the chat area. I don't think the chat area is even used. I think it's there, but because WebEx has it there. But Q&A is what the area is. And yes, you didn't see the other people's questions. You literally are watching them and you're typing in your questions. So it's like if you were part of a Zoom meeting where they can't see you, they can't hear you. It's almost like a presentation, but
Right.
you could write stuff in. And that's really the experience behind it with them sharing their screen. They do have two other people, which I think filter through. I also think that they're doing this all in one or two locations because this was in, I think, I think this was in Arizona where they were. They have a special setup. It looks like they're in like a home. Like they actually have it set up. I think they probably they built like, either they took like a briefing room or something in the
Right.
backstage area and they turned it into like this home central area. So you're not going to get your local people. I'm going to tell you that right now, unless you go to that specific store. Uh, I thought it was interesting how this was a small thing because they were explaining the ports because they were going real basic, explaining what the ports are. They called them Thunderbolt 3 ports, not USB-C, which I thought was a little interesting. They are Thunderbolt 3 ports, but they should say USB-C because that's what they are, like the style. So they give links to all. There was a lot of links that they give you as well. And I'm a little surprised because they had headphones on. I'm surprised they weren't AirPods Max. Like I'm surprised they didn't do like that's an advertising for that right there. I thought they
Yeah.
would do it, and I think that they are sharing the same computer because, and here's my way of thinking that the three creatives are at least right next to each other, and I think they're virtually looking at the machine that's to like the presenter in a way. I think I don't know how, but I think that's what they're doing. And it was interesting. I thought they were answering a lot of great questions. In fact, one of the questions was about Chrome. And I thought that was I'm surprised they answered it
Yeah.
because they talked about why is Chrome eating up my battery? And I'm going to tell you right now, Chrome is a battery killer. It kills your battery. And
It's
I was
because it's monitoring everything you're doing in the background.
there's a lot of background tests going on, and they answered it very well. And they said that Safari is the one optimized for your operating system. Anything outside of that is not, and it's not gonna perform as good. So I thought they did a good job answering a question that might be something Apple might skip, but overall, yes, they're on a script. They show you on a screen what they're going to be covering, so you
Right.
know right away they're doing the Apple steps. Like
Yep.
they're doing the exact Apple steps,
Yep.
including a recap. Like they're doing exactly how we were taught in 1-to-1.
Yes.
You know, so they were doing it all. And I thought they did a good job. And again, you only get an hour amount of time, so they kind of had to bust through it towards the end because they
Yep.
were answering a lot of questions. But overall, I think it's much better than what's on the website now with those stupid videos.
Well, oh yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I just felt that, um, coming from the creative position and having that interaction, it's just not the same experience. And I mean, frankly, I I didn't think it would be, but I didn't think I would miss it as much as I did.
Hmm.
So I guess that's the only point I'm trying to bring across.
Yeah, and I would tell everyone that you absolutely need to give it a try. And I think it's better than what they have right now. In fact, really, they have nothing right now. So, I would really like them to publish some of this sometime. I think it'd be
Yeah.
great for them. Right now, they're sticking to 3 subjects. You have to go on the Apple.com, today section, apple.com/today, which will take you to that, and you choose your location, and then you go you do the Today at Apple. And I'll be honest, it's a little hard still, in my opinion, to try to find this Today at Apple. Like, how do you find it? The product sessions, it's a little tough.
Well,
Like,
to me, the easiest way is if you download on your phone or iPad the Apple Store app. That's has an icon right at the bottom of the app that shows you sessions, and then you can pick the store, and it'll direct you from there.
What's annoying to me is like when I go to Today at Apple right now, if I went to Today at Apple, the homepage, it says Today at Apple at home, watch how-to videos, but there's nothing on this page about these product skills.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I don't understand that. Like, why is that not the top thing right now in the way? Like, it really makes it hard. So I think it's a little difficult right now to find this.
Yeah. I mean,
in fact,
you
the
would
only
think
way the only way I found it, by the way, just to show you, because I tried this, the ad that's on the very top of Google takes me to the right page, but the actual one below that takes me to a different one. So the ad takes me to what I believe you should be seeing, and the number one result takes you somewhere else.
Yeah, you would think that since this is the newest thing, it would be
Yeah.
right on the page.
Yep.
And then the prior videos would be below it. But
Yep.
we don't work in web design, so.
Well, I think the important thing is that they need feedback, and I think that, I don't know how. I think there's a way you can give feedback based on the email we probably got after the session.
Yep.
Probably, I think if anybody, we should be submitting that to Apple. That way they know to make it better. So overall, give it a try Today at Apple at home. I enjoyed it. It wasn't. I feel like I didn't waste my time on the hour. Definitely we're a little too advanced for what they're talking about, but it helps you think a little bit.
Yeah.
So I like that anyway. But let's talk about the next subject besides Today at Apple. One more big thing happened this week, and it is the end of a product, which, I think was like almost like a substitute for the time being, but the iMac Pro has decided to come to an end because Apple confirmed that they're no longer selling the iMac Pro. So they are still selling it right now, but there is no upgrades available. Once inventory runs out, they will no longer be available. And it was released in 2017. It was deemed the most powerful Mac ever, with the all-in-one computer aimed for creative and professionals. It made its debut in August of 2017, and I have seen it in action. A lot of places, I think, did buy this iMac Pro because, face it, the Mac Pro, the trash can design was so bad that this was like a substitute until they came out with the new Mac Pro that they now have.
Do you really think that trash can was that bad?
Yes.
I mean, I thought the design was beautiful.
It doesn't matter. The idea of a Mac Pro is the ability to custom design it, because you were able to put your own video cards in. You were able to put more slots in there. They literally had one SD slot, and they wanted you to use Thunderbolt ports to connect everything, which is not convenient. This is the era where I felt Apple went backwards. It's like with Final Cut, with Mac Pro, like as far professionals, Aperture went away. Like they kind of did pretty good with Logic. Like they kept that going pretty well. I think it's still better than Pro Tools, but they really went backwards here for video professionals, in my opinion, and photo professionals. And they had the opportunity. They kind of lost it. They're getting it back now, and this design was cool because, number one, it had that space gray, and it had, the all-in-one feature built into it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, but the user could upgrade it.
Well, but again, iMac Pro is meant to be you make it the way you want it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And now Apple says we're getting rid of it because this is the key. I think for this reason is because they introduced this thing called an M1 chip, and the M1 has surpassed so many different processors that are out there and we know an iMac's coming. There has to be one coming now, especially that this is going away. It's happening.
So, do you think that I'll say it, the new iMac is going to have the M2 or the M1 next generation chip, or do you think you're going to just put the M1 in?
M1. There might be an Intel chip for those who needed Intel, but the majority of the Macs that are coming out are going to be.
You don't think that they're going to put the a more robust M chip in the new iMac?
Oh, that could be possible. I would see them doing an M1 for like the base model, and then the advanced model will have maybe a new generation.
Like a M1.2.
Yeah, something like that. We don't know what they're going to do. Or the M1X. Like there's like so many different design
Yeah.
things floating out right there. But to me, this confirms that an iMac, a new design iMac, is coming out this year. I just don't know how it makes it more obvious than this.
Well, there are rumors floating around that there's going to be another product release in March.
And that's the last thing I was going to bring up was that I believe it's March 23rd. Around that time, they are planning on a keynote or presentation. Something's happening on that day. Whether it's a new iPad Pro, they're talking about AirTags finally being released after being around for so long. In fact, there's new code inside of iOS, basically in the Find My app that talks about finding your book bag and it's very obvious that it's coming out. So there has to be, I don't know if I don't think it's going to come out in March. I think the iMac is going to be more September timeframe. I think they need some time.
Well, let's talk about the AirTags. Do you think they're going to be a viable product?
Well, I think I bought a tile. I asked for a tile for Christmas, and I could tell you I have left keys in the house, and where I have decided to, play the tile app to try to find something, it has worked. So I do believe there's value to it. Absolutely. And I like the tile. In fact, I have older tiles I still have to use. So I'm not going to be jumping out to get at maybe the tags yet. Also, the rumor is that the tags you need to buy an accessory in order to clip it onto something. So that's Apple would do that. So they come up with the tag itself, but if you are going to attach it to something like your keys, you can't stick it. You probably have to buy an accessory to do it. In fact, it was already confirmed that there's a leather tag case coming out. That's an Apple thing, man. But I think it's going to do very well. I think it's going to do very well. I really do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but hey, what do I know?
Well, negative Frank here because he lost his 2 pounds, so now he's being a negative boy here. But I'm excited for what's going to happen in the future of this. But I thought these were 2 great stories to talk about, and honestly, I'm looking forward to the future. In fact, if you look on our YouTube page, I just released a video showing how to navigate your desktop using Finder, and I thought there was some pretty cool stuff I talked about in there. Frank, you have any takeaways from that video?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It's as usual, Will. You always come up with something that a user can walk away with and go, "Wow, I didn't know I could do that." From there, and it's very useful. I think all of our viewers should take a look at it. I think they'll pull something from it, and they can wow their friends at a Meet My Mac party.
Mm-hmm. Of course, man. Everybody wants to come to a TLD party.
That's it.
That's it. We want to thank you guys for joining us for this podcast, and we are going to be back in 2 weeks again for another great episode. And actually lined up, we do have a special interview possibly, which I'm looking very forward to, and hopefully, as long as the schedules work out, we can bring that interview with you next time. Until then, I am Will TLD, and I love every single one of you.
Peace out, man.